Hello again, everybody, and welcome into the Take the North podcast, along with Dan Wiederer from The Athletic. I am Mark Grote from Chicago Sports Radio 670 The Score. We are recording this directly after a Bears come-from-behind win in their third and final preseason game. The Bears beating the Chiefs at Arrowhead. Final score of 29-27, and in dramatic fashion, Tyson Bagent with a 6-yard touchdown pass to Jade Walker with 7 seconds left in the game as the Bears go 87 yards on that Tyson Bagent drive in a minute 26. So if you like last second wins, you got that from the Bears. Dan, what is up? And you got to admit, that was pretty impressive stuff, even though the lights were kind of off. It's late in the third game of the year, but I was glued to it. And I think a lot of people, even at Arrowhead, it was like you could feel the disappointment in the crowd in Kansas City.
What a week for Tyson Bagent, and he caps it off with 3 second-half touchdown passes to lead a preseason comeback win over the Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium. But really a cool final drive there, Grote, in a lot of ways. You keep it in the proper frame, and you understand what that was in the preseason finale. But you also see a quarterback who just managed the situation with a bit of game-on-the-line brilliance there all the way down to the last pass to Jade Walker, who himself had a big drive on the last drive, started it with a toe tap catch on the sideline. And you get some feel good at the end of a game that started very, very sloppy and left the new boss a little bit displeased with how things got going at the start of that football game.
No doubt about it. And we can go there now. We'll bounce all over the place here, as we always do, covering everything that goes down with the Bears on Take the North. But the Bears' first string offense, the Caleb Williams version of the offense, they had 4 drives. The first 2 drives, just to capsulize it, were straight up duds, while the third was better. And the fourth, I would say, was pretty close to excellent, actually, right before the end of the first half. And I thought that the 4 drives, that we could break them down, Dan, but it almost felt like a microcosm of last year in some ways, where not only is it bad early on, it's really bad early on. The bad exchange with Olamide Zaccheaus on the jet sweep, the false start by Colston Loveland on the first couple of plays of the game. So that's what it felt to me as far as the game went. Obviously, it got stronger as they went on, got strong and stronger as it finished. But what happened in those first couple of drives is still something that's unacceptable. And Ben Johnson said as much after the game.
Yeah, I mean, forget last year. This sloppiness to start Friday night's game was consistent with what we've seen through chunks of training camp, right? And even as recently as Wednesday, when the Bears were having operational issues in that practice there. And that's what we have been kind of warning people about, is that there has been a lot of rickety days for the Bears offense at training camp with things that happened again tonight. You start the game with a mistimed motion and a mistimed exchange on a jet sweep to Olamide Zaccheaus, and all of a sudden you're behind the chains, and then Colston Loveland false starts and you're further behind the chains, and that drive's over before you even got a chance to run a traditional play, right? And so that's disappointing. You get later in the same quarter, you get Caleb Williams taking a sack. Now, listen, for context, it's the only sack Caleb Williams took during this preseason. And so there's improvement there. You see improved protection from his offensive line. You see, particularly against Buffalo, moments where Caleb is more decisive in getting the ball out of his hands. But that particular sack was a moment where Caleb Williams held the ball for way too long, didn't find an escape valve to either throw it away or scramble, and you turn 2nd and 3 into 3rd and 8. And that's how 68 sacks wind up in your ledger in your rookie season, because you're just not aware enough with that clock in your head to get rid of the football. And so, again, you have to look at that through one lens that says it was just one time in the preseason and in preseason game action that occurred. But it also marries up with what we saw so often last year, that it re-triggers your concerns about Caleb breaking the habit of holding onto the football too long.
Yeah. Yep. And, as one of the reporters was asking Ben Johnson after this Bears in 29-27 went over the Chiefs in the third and final preseason game of the year, Ben basically nodding along with a reporter saying, indicating that Caleb had held the ball too long, and just kind of Ben Johnson, you could just see him. Yep. I mean, one thing that we continue to be really, I guess, happy about, surprised about relative to previous head coaches, is just how honest this head coach continues to be, saying things like asking the question, this was their first road game that Ben Johnson brought up. And he basically said, if this is us on the road, it's not good enough. And we got to get better in a hurry. So he was kind of dropping those honesty bombs after the game again, which is still something I'm getting used to.
It's who he is. I hope it's who he remains, right? Like, because we just don't know how a head coach is going to evolve when he has to do this every single day of, the season to kind of meet with the media and be honest in this regard. What I love about the honesty and why it's so refreshing, Grote, is because it is a head coach telling you that he's not afraid to share publicly what he tells the team. And what that does to your locker room, it tells you that you need to be thick-skinned, and it tells you that there's a certain standard here that has to be met. And if it's not met, you have to be a big boy and understand that part of the consequences are being called out publicly, which is fine because championship football teams should be capable of handling that and progressing forward with whatever growth needs to be had. There doesn't need to be any sort of defensiveness or divisiveness about that. And hopefully Ben sticks on that route. But you did feel an element of, I don't want to say discouragement, but certainly disappointment from Ben Johnson and how that first half unfolded. Now the Bears capped that first half with a successful 2-minute touchdown drive, which we know that's on Caleb Williams's, strengths column, that he can get in those 2-minute situations and be really, really effective. He was against the Chiefs defense that was no longer playing its top tier guys. But that was an encouraging drive because, Grote, what we've heard from people who have stood at podiums and people that have talked to us elsewhere in that building is that one of the things that they're going to be evaluating Caleb Williams on in 2025 is his ability to respond, his ability to control his emotions. When there's a bad play, a frustrating mistake, a sloppy drive, how does he respond, both with his emotions and his play? Caleb Williams, in that instance, took the Bears down the field for a much-needed touchdown to end that first half. And for me, that was an encouraging sign, one that has to be backed by many more encouraging signs of the same brand.
Yeah, well, God, what a perfect way that you put it in terms of not allowing one bad play beget the next or stimulate or be correlated with the next play. You could
stimulated.
I have used all sorts of weird words, man.
It's take the North after dark. Everything's on the table at this point.
It really is. Yeah, as we're recording this, it is 11:35 on a Friday night. I mean, Friday presents its own mood issues in a good way.
You've got the sirens going outside. I'm in the dungeon, so I don't wake the people up upstairs. I got an old Chris Bryant fathead behind me near the laundry room. This is the full-fledged look at Take the North behind the scenes.
I'm spitting out adjectives over here trying to land on the right one. It's really beautiful. But to emphasize
you never want to stimulate the bad play.
No, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. He missed, I guess. I don't know if you would call it a miss. Caleb Williams put it up for Rome Odunze in traffic, a 50-50 ball, which was catch. It would have been a really good catch if he would have been made it. That was a spectacular play. 50-50 ball. Rome Odunze does not come down with it, but right after that, that's the 2nd and 10 play. He hits Rome Odunze, other side of the field, on what turned out to be a 37-yard play, followed by a 2 or 3 yard touchdown toss to Rome Odunze. So that was good. I was very disappointed that Rome didn't come down with that ball because that's kind of the stuff that eventually, if we are to grade him on the top 10 wide receiver scale, you got to come down with some of those balls, man.
These first round picks have to be judged as first round picks. You used premium investments on those guys, and so Rome, you do have to come down with that. And he's had a track record in college of coming down with those consistently. He did it last year in spurts, and so you want to see him make that catch. I was happy for the two of them that they went right back to that connection and connected on the two plays that you mentioned, the 37-yarder on the corner route, and then the touchdown pass where Caleb throws a fastball and Rome catches it just beyond the goal line. Good sign there, good sign to keep that confidence up. Equally good sign that Olamide Zaccheaus was involved the way he was again tonight. So you're seeing a guy there in that wide receiver 3 role who is, again, we heard it last week. He's earned the quarterback's trust. He's earned the play caller's trust. And so, a lot of people out there heading into fantasy football drafts over the next couple of weeks. Olamide Zaccheaus is going to be your third wide receiver. And right now he's been more involved than DJ Moore in a lot of ways.
Remember how comfortable he was with Keenan Allen last year. It's not necessarily the obvious guy. Not that, I mean, obviously
Yeah,
Keenan
Keenan Allen a
Allen
little more accomplished. Yeah.
he's pretty well decorated, but you know what I'm saying? It's the veteran version of Keenan Allen, and you've got DJ Moore and Rome Odunze there already. Let's talk about the wide receivers a little bit. We know the slam dunks for the roster, but just real quick, because that you had, you know, we talked about Jade Walker with the game-winning catch tonight, 3 catches for 37 yards. Tyler Scott, who was really good in the previous game to this, had a catch for 16 yards. Maurice Alexander, 4 catches for 34 yards with a long of 15. I mean, essentially, those guys are all probably competing for the 5th wide receiver spot, right, Dan? And I don't know.
6 wide receiver spot if you count Duvernay. I don't know what Duvernay's health status is. I mean, he's going to be your return guy if he's healthy. And so that would be wide receiver 6, and there's only 1 slot left. Now, again, as I've been issuing this reminder to everyone that I've talked to in the last couple of weeks, the practice squad is so big right now that the other 2 guys will have a home on the Bears practice squad if they clear waivers, right? And so that's going to be something that the Bears have to figure out what they want to do there. But yeah, that's a tough decision, and you've got to kind of weigh everything together. You know, special teams value is really what often decides who gets those spots at the bottom of the roster. I think Jade Walker made the game-ending tackle on the kickoff after his game-winning touchdown catch.
I did not notice that.
I have to double check the game book on that, but that, you know, that's a cool way to punctuate what was a huge moment for you just a couple minutes before that. And so, you know, they're gonna have to talk those things through, and obviously Alexander's a veteran with some history with Ben, and Tyler Scott's a Ryan Poles draft pick, and then you see some of the flashes from Jade Walker during the preseason and some touchdown catches that at least turn your head and say, we wouldn't mind keeping him in our locker room for a little while longer, because for an undrafted rookie, he's shown some exuberance and some glimpses of promise.
Yeah, let's and we'll come back to some offensive nuggets here, but let's the defense tonight. Let's just, I mean, I guess the headline would be Chiefs offense dominates the Bears first team defense. And keeping in mind, well, it's good.
Yeah.
There's no Jalen Johnson. There's no Grady Jarrett playing in this game. No Kyler Gordon in this game. Who else? Tremaine Edmonds, whose injury does not look like it's Edmonds. Apparently, a soft tissue issue is what Tremaine Edmonds is dealing with. Austin Booker, by the way, while I'm thinking about it, he's going to be out.
A couple weeks. He's going to be out.
Yeah, could be a few weeks for Austin Booker. So he's obviously he's going to miss the opening game, maybe a couple of games of the regular season. But those are a few quick updates there. But man, Dan, I'll just say it. Look, it's Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense against the Bears. So keep that in mind. And Patrick Mahomes really looked like he was trying, and he was as elusive as hell.
Yeah.
And that is one of the parts that you have to factor into it. But the Bears looked a step slow, or the Chiefs were just a step ahead. However you want to look at it in your optimistic or pessimistic mind, the Bears defense was playing a lot of chase against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs first string offense.
Yeah, I think that was part of Ben Johnson's disappointment after the game, was that there wasn't that same energy that we've seen from the Bears defense for most of the last month to start that football game against an opponent that they should have been really eager to face, albeit that it's August and they're trying to make their way to the regular season here. But look, like Mahomes does some of that magic stuff that you can't really defend, and he gets out of some pressure with, you know, climbs the pocket, slips out the side door, and extends a play enough to convert a third down that then ultimately allows the Chiefs to score a touchdown. And you see those things and you're like, man, that's high level quarterbacking play. Would love to have that in our city for a little while, like the Chiefs have had it. I got a text from someone else in the media saying that there was once upon a time, I guess the Bears had a chance to draft Patrick Mahomes. I hadn't
I
documented
don't
that
know.
2017. So that was,
I remember reading that in some other newspaper that, I don't know.
I think they went with Mitch.
Right.
I guess that's an old story, so we don't have to rehash
that.
But,
Yeah.
But like, even
something about it. Yeah.
You know, there's a Mahomes to Kelsey completion where Jaquan Brisker, you know, he's not keeping up with Travis Kelsey either before the catch or after the catch. And you're like, ugh, you know, like, man, that's a tough moment. And I think the Chiefs had close to 200 yards at the end of the first quarter. And you're just like, man, that's not the best tone to leave the preseason. Have confidence in this group. We've watched that defense play for the last month, and you've seen some of the edge that they've operated with. So this isn't like a major concern, but certainly for one night, it didn't meet the standard. And I think Ben was clear about that.
Yeah. I mean, the 58-yard bomb to Tyquan Thornton against Nashawn Wright, and then you saw
Oh yeah,
Brisker in the picture as well. Like I'm not saying like Nashawn Wright is like on the bubble by any means, so like they need him out there, but he struggled a little bit
tough night for him. I
lately.
mean,
Yeah.
29 yards on the same penalty early on in that first drive. Grote,
Yeah.
he gets a hold of a face mask and he gets hit for both a pass interference and a personal foul on the same infraction. You're just like, wow, that's a tough way to start. And so it wasn't a great night for Nashawn Wright after what's been a pretty solid camp and really a solid
Mhm.
off season for Nashawn Wright. But it reminds you that, oh boy, Jalen Johnson and all the health updates we get on him that are encouraging, you really want him out there when you go to play the Vikings on September 8th.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. They're just bouncing around here a little bit to some other things that I wanted to get to, Dan. Cairo Santos tonight did doink one, hit one off the
Doink.
crossbar. He had a doink, not a double doink, but just a regular old doink. He had a
Left upright, right?
left. It was the left upright. He had a blocked point after as well. Look, Cairo Santos hit the longest field goal we've ever seen him hit in his life in the preseason game. Was it the Buffalo game with the 57-yarder?
Yeah.
So like at that
Miami
point,
game.
the Miami game. So it felt like, oh, okay, this guy may have like improved over last season. Some of the bugaboos that he had. I don't know, man. I don't want to read into anything with Santos, but did you get any
Well,
concerns out of that?
the I have two concerns. Number one,
Okay.
the blocked extra point was the just leaky protection, and it was late in the game where you got a bunch of guys that aren't going to be on your roster trying to protect for you in the field
That's
goal
a
unit, and so
good texture by you. Good
you
texture.
yeah, I mean you give them a little bit of a forgiveness there. You don't want to see the doink. My other concern is that I actually have a piece on Cairo Santos coming out in the Athletic next week. And
Really?
so as a writer, you don't like the timing of like, oh boy, is there going to need to be some revision to some of the
Oh
things
man,
that I
yeah,
wrote
he
and we
was.
talked about based on two kicks on an August Friday night. And so we'll get a look at that. But it was just like, Cairo, come on, man, like do me a solid here and make those kicks.
I like that you're writing about him because he was very dramatic last year. You know what I mean? Like in terms of a missed kick against block kick against Green Bay, redemption at the end of this. Like I'm sure it's all in that, and I don't want to give any of your article away in
Sounds
the
like you've been
Athletic.
hacking into my laptop.
This is why we work, man.
Got to get that two-factor authentication better.
Sometimes our chemistry is too good. It's too good.
What?
But all right, so we'll wait for Dan's piece in the Athletic to come out for the Cairo Santos thing. Maybe at the end of this season you'll be doing a deep dive on DeAndre Swift because I hope he has a redeeming year too. He looked really good. He looked very comfortable. 7 carries, 28 yards. He had a long of 12. And that is 4 yards per carry. I like the way he played tonight, man.
His best play was that little catch in the flat on the play action concept where he then
Hurdle.
goes into hurdle mode, and that's not the
Oh,
first time DeAndre Swift has gone into hurdle mode. He's got a whole string of those on his highlight reel, and so I was glad Ben highlighted this after the game because I started in my notebook. He converted a 3rd and 1. I think it was only a 2-yard gain, but it was like a get your pads low and make sure you get the first down. And it was just the type of run that they've talked about for a while under this new coaching staff about just make sure you get what we need and make sure you get what's there before you try to get greedy and get more. And that's going to be a big thing for Ben Johnson and Eric Bieniemy and working with DeAndre Swift. And there did seem to be a little juice to him tonight. And you hope that crosses over into the regular season. I'll give you a little nugget that I dug up with some other things I was working on. Ben Johnson in his 3 seasons as Lions play caller had a 1,000-yard rusher in each of those seasons. It was 3 different backs that surpassed the 1,000-yard plateau. Jamal Williams in 22, David Montgomery in 23, and Jahmyr Gibbs last year. And so if you're playing the trends, DeAndre Swift is next in line to possibly get over that 1,000 yard plateau. Something to keep an eye on because I do think that Ben is very, very wedded to the running game, and he really hopes that DeAndre Swift can be the guy that is the engine of that whole thing.
Yeah, I love it. Coming soon, ladies and gentlemen, the 3 p.m. deadline for the 53-man roster. Tuesday, right? Tuesday.
It is. They
Yeah.
have a couple practices scheduled on Monday and Tuesday before that deadline. It's gonna be very interesting to see kind of whether they start to let guys go this weekend, and let them out of the building then. If it's going to leak into Monday, there's a lot that goes into this time of year for the players, the front office, the coaches. But that deadline's coming. for the initial 53-man roster on Tuesday afternoon.
Dan, I would like to know this from you, sir. It is, as we are recording this particular podcast, it is now 11:48 on a Friday
FM
night
dial.
on your FM. How you doing, everybody? What is going to happen with you now? It's 11:48. Will you go to bed? Will you go watch TV? Is there a snack coming in your life? I mean, I know you have a family too, so
yeah, no snack. I have a little bit of writing to do. I'm not on a deadline tonight, but I have to get something going. And so while I'm still juiced up, I'll probably rip out a few hundred words and take it through my fuel tank and then say, okay, now it's time to go to bed. It's late though. It is late here in the Wiederer household, which is why I'm here in the dungeon, because you do it from the regular studio and you're gonna wake everybody up and then everybody's gonna be pissed. That's not a good thing to have in this house,
Luckily, in this house, I live with a professional sleeper. It's called Dave the cat. Cats sleep about 18 hours of the day, which again is why this is my favorite roommate of all time, Dave the cat. But I've been waiting all day long to watch I am needing to watch my favorite episode of The Office. Are you an Office fan?
Yeah, back in the day. I haven't watched it in a while, but yeah, I mean,
it's
mid-2000s can't miss.
Michael and Jan's dinner party is my favorite episode of all time. I'm fairly new to the show. I've been watching it.
Really? You're new to this?
Yeah. I like over the last 2.5 years. I just watched random episodes on Comedy Central. I know people are like, just watch it on Peacock. I'm having fun just doing it linearly, just bouncing from season to episode but the dinner party just makes me laugh out loud every time. And I feel like before I go to bed tonight, I feel like laughing out loud, Dan.
One of my close friends from childhood, big listener of Take the North, Mark.
How's it going, Mark?
He got into The Office late also. And we were like, he would be telling us about how funny The Office is. And we're like, yeah, we knew that in like 2006. Like, thanks for the news flash. Also, I think he was rewatch it during COVID. I think he was rewatching all of Cheers. So you talk about a guy who just likes to go back deep in the annals and find the old stuff to dust off. Mark and you've got some things in common. We'll get you in touch here before too long.
I like it. Those are a shout out to Mark, and thanks for listening to the Take the North podcast.
One last note for me, Grote. I'm not used to not being in the stadium and in the post-game press conference. So for me having to ask you guys, where do I watch the post-game press conferences when I'm not in them? How do I do this? Like, what am I? I felt like a grandpa. Like, where do I go? What is YouTube?
It's a very helpless feeling too, man. Like when you're like you can't be there with the other reporters.
I was trying to outshout Jason Leisure, and they couldn't hear me.
Yeah, we don't have control when we're not at the venue, but we'll be at the venue starting with the Bears and Vikings on September 8th. That's where we're headed towards next. Now it gets really serious with the roster cut downs coming here and the preseason in the books. It is, and Dan and I will continue to be with you step by step. And so for Dan Wiederer from the Dungeon and the Athletic, for Adam Studzinski in his own little dungeon right now, waiting to go to bed. He wants to go to bed because he's got to get up early. I am Mark Grote. Thank you for listening to and watching the Take the North podcast.
Great talk and good night.